It's your boy Tony Tone, and I'm back in the cut, bringing you that video goodness. Today I'm going to introduce you to a new feature that I'm going to have on my YouTube channel called I Don't Get It. And I don't get it means just that. I just don't get it. What I mean to say by that is not to insult anybody, not to make anybody mad, not to make people think that or not to try to put it out there that my opinion is the master opinion or something like that. It's just simply to share my thoughts on what's popular in the photography world or the tech world, because it simply doesn't make sense to me. It may make sense to you, and that's fine. Live your life, be happy, but it just doesn't make sense to me. The first thought that I'm going to introduce in my I Don't Get It piece is this whole idea around the A7III. I am a Sony shooter coming over from the Canon world. And as a Sony shooter, there's some things that I love and there's some things that I really don't get. What I don't get is this whole enthusiasm about the supposed upcoming A3. I don't see a need for it. It's just not necessary. And I'll explain. At first, Sony started the full frame market with the A7 series, if I understand it correctly. And the A7 was a beast of a camera, although it had its flaws with focusing and things like that. It was their introduction. It was the Sony's introduction to the mirrorless full frame world. And it got a lot of rave and it got a lot of attention. Then they came out with the A7S. And the A7S was able to record 4K. But the 4K, you had to use an external recorder to get that 4K out. When the A7R2 came, that changed the game. The A7S2, the A7R2, these were two remarkable cameras. Sony started to define a real hard niche that Canon and Nikon, the former kings in their own rights, in terms of sharpness, in terms of color, in terms of lens selections, blah, 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 blah. Sony just really began to dig into their market share, and with good reason. As the A7S2 and the A7R2 became more and more popular, the need for the A7, to me, I mean, it doesn't quite make sense, except to say that some people need a full frame, an entry-level full frame, and I'll talk about that later. Then came the A9, which is a super duper behemoth of a camera. Phenomenal. Sony really kicked it into high gear with the A9. So they got the A7S for video, the A7R for stills. Then the camera that I was waiting for, because I didn't get the A9. I saw the potential that it had. I saw the capabilities that it had. And I just knew that A7R3 was going to be the camera for me at a lower price point, and borrowing some of the best ideas from the A9. And that's exactly what happened. But before that, there was a lot of talk about the A7III is going to be the next announcement in October. And then for some reason, people started shifting to the A7S3. And I never understood that. The line of succession was A7R, then the A7. It was A7, then the A7S, then the A7R. So I don't know why would people even think that the A7S3 would be released before the A7III. To the point where people like Gary Fung said that everybody was surprised when the A7R3 was announced. I wasn't surprised. In fact, it only made sense. But I was pleasantly surprised that the R3 came out before the A7III in general. But now it's starting to make sense to me. Since the A7R3 came, and I'm predicting, just like a lot of other people are predicting, that camera is going to be a smoker of a seller. Since that R3 came out right after the A9, the A7R2 price point dropped down to about $2,200, and in some places you can get it for $2,000. So why would they bring out an A7III? Because they want to introduce a full frame camera that's affordable at that price point? Well, what price point would it be? $2,000? If they wanted a capable camera for $2,000, then they might as well just get the A7R2, which is a very, very capable camera. Yes, 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 we know about the imperfections of the R2, but before the R3 came out, that camera was doing just fine. People just bought more batteries. People just bought a battery grip. So the A7 III, it would compete with the A7R2. Sony's already made the A7R2s. What are they going to do? Put a bigger battery in it and make it a 24 megapixel camera with a bigger battery and all the trimmings of the A7R2? I'm sorry, A7R3? Then why would people buy the A7R3? Sony is looking at their bottom line. They want to capitalize on all markets. It would not make any sense to them whatsoever to bring in an A7 III to compete with the A7R3. Meanwhile, they already have that camera. And it's not called the A7 III, it's called the A7R2. That's the camera that you should be looking for. Still not good enough? Then let's consider the A6500. And I'm sure the A6700 will be released sometime soon. Yes, 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 I get it. The A6500 is a crop censored camera. And as such, it will never compete with a full frame camera. Well, compete is the operative word because the A6500 has been competing with full frame cameras. No, the quality is not better. I'm not saying that, but it is certainly good enough. The lines between crop sensor cameras and full frame cameras are getting blurred. But again, you got the A6500, you have the A7R2, you have the A7S2, which is also dropping in price. But what do I know? Who knows? Sony may just come up with the A7 III and take a whole different approach. Who knows? Whatever it is, whatever they intend to do. I'm really, really happy with my A7R3, and I'm still happy with my A7R2. But when it comes down to the A7 III, I don't get it. Anyway, thanks guys for tuning in. Thanks guys for watching. I hope you click like. I hope you click subscribe. And I'll continue to try to bring you the goodness. So that's all for now. Peace out. And remember, you can't be better by being the same. Peace.